Babes, and welcome to day 2 of the 12 Days of Bookmas. Those that are new around here, my name's Rainy. I read all types of books, so you should subscribe, like my channel, all of those things. In day 2 of Bookmas, we are going to be talking all about where I'm tier ranking the books that I read in November. So last year, I decided to start tier ranking for my wrap-ups because honestly, I hate doing wrap-ups and I wasn't filming wrap-ups because I wasn't finding any joy in them. And so I decided that tier ranking is a little bit more fun, and I do it with a Friends theme of like quotes from Friends because we all know I'm obsessed with Friends, like it's my whole personality. And so I think that's what I'm going to continue on with. So we're going to be tier ranking all of the books that I read, and I had a pretty interesting month with my Get a Clue readathon because like I had the most 1 stars I've ever had in like 1 month. Like it was crazy. And so first we're going to start off with reviewing how October went, or November went, like the books that I said I was going to read versus what I didn't. And then we're going to go over a little bit of stats, and then we're going to get to tier ranking. So if you're interested in that, please follow along with me. Now, the first book I said that I was going to read for November was A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker, and I was planning on reading this for the conservatory and I was planning on reading this, I can't even remember which one I was going to read this for. And I was planning on reading this for the ballroom, which is for starting a series. However, I just did not get to that because I started a different book for that one. And so I just didn't get to it. Then I had said I was going to read Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, the kitchen prompt for like food on the cover, and I did read this. It was all right. You'll hear more about it in just a sec. But I did read this. Then I said I was going to read Bewitched by Laura Thalassa, and this one was also for Ballroom for Start a Series, so 2 had made their way onto there. And so I think that's why I didn't read A Fate of Wrath and Flame, because I ended up reading this. And I absolutely loved this, had a great time with this. So you will hear about this a little bit more soon. Then I also said that I was going to read Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and I did try, and I soft DNF'd it. So I think that still counts because I did technically try to read it, but then I ended up reading Truly Devious instead, and that was for the study for a school setting. So that is what it is. And then I was supposed to read Punk 57, which is for the dual perspective for the hall, and I did read that. I don't own it anymore. I sold it on Pango because I absolutely hated it, didn't have a good time with it, and that's all I'm going to say on that for right now. Then I also was supposed to read Cabin at the End of the World for the library room for TV or movie adaptation, and I did read that and also sold that on my Pango because that is the worst book I might have ever read in my entire life, and you're going to hear a big rant on it later on. So yeah, I did read that as well. For the lightning round, I was supposed to read If I Disappear by like Eliza Jane Brazier or something for like my lowest rated book on Goodreads, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't read that like at all. I also didn't read Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton, which was just for my dining room for birth month, like book written in your birth month or released in your birth month, and I didn't read that. Instead, I read The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. I was supposed to read Icebreaker and Wildfire by Hannah Grace, like in order to help me for the Goodreads Romance Awards, and I started Icebreaker at least, but I'm not finished with it, and I'm not really enjoying it, which is a little sad to say. And then I also was supposed to read Midnight by the Darkest Hour, which is Ashley Winstead, and I did read that, and I didn't have a good time with it. If we go with like even my soft DNF and being halfway through Icebreaker, that is 7 books out of 10 that I read and I said I was going to read. And I'm not gonna lie, that is probably the highest number that we have ever seen on my channel. That's probably the highest number we're ever gonna get on my channel. And I'm quite proud of myself, I must say. Now we're gonna go with some stats for November, and so I do have my laptop in front of me just so that I don't forget anything. In November, I read a total of 18 books, so 1 more than October, so that's pretty great. The amount of pages I read was 5,589. That is one of my larger pages month, and hours listened was 58.36. I listened to a lot of audiobooks, so I'm not even a little bit surprised by that. My average rating though this month was a 3.58. which is pretty bad because most of the time my rating is 4.0 and higher. So yeah, it's not the best month I've ever had. I acquired 16 books, the same as last year. So 16 new books made their way to my TBR, which means I only actually took my TBR down by 2. So that's a problem. I didn't get any library books. I didn't do any rereads. I did do 1 soft DNF. I don't think I even actually inputted Vicious on here. I probably should have. So I'll go back and fix this because I did DNF Vicious. And I started 7 series, so that's pretty cool. And I had 5 diverse reads this month, which I'm very proud of. That is a lot for Rainy. So like, good job. You're moving up in the world, you know? Then if we go to source, I read 2 ebooks. I read 2 books physically, and then I did a mixture of audio and physical like immersion reading for 14 of them because that is still always the way that I'm going to primarily read my books. For the format, I read 3 graphic novels this month, 12 novels and 3 novellas. The graphic novels were for my mid-month Chaos readathon in my Clue readathon, and then the novellas were for risque reading sprints with like my besties book club where we read like really smutty, weird books on the internet for everyone to see. As far as audience goes, 13 of my books were adult, 1 was new adult, and 4 were YA. So I did read a couple more YA books this month, which like I don't typically read a lot of YA, so like that was a little out of the norm for me. And then we get to the ratings. And this is where shit gets fan friends, because I had 4 1-star ratings. 4! I had 2 1-stars, I had 1 3-star, I had 1 3.5 star, 2 4 stars, 2 4.5 stars, and 7 5-stars. So even though I had a craptastic month at the bottom, I still read the most 5-star books. So like, still living my best life over here. And this is even after I got a little bit harsher with how I pick books. In the genres, as far as that goes, I read 1 contemporary, 2 horror, 2 humor, interesting, 10 romance, and 3 thriller. So very interesting. I honestly forget which ones I put as humor, so I guess we'll see when we get to the actual tier ranking. All right, so with that being said, we're going to move over to my computer and my laptop where I'm going to get onto the tier ranking thing, and we're just going to start ranking these bad boy bitches. Okay, friends. So I'm going to put myself over here. Hopefully I am not in the way for any of this, but we will see because Rainy's really bad at this, honestly. Okay, so here is my tier ranking system. We'll go over it again really, really quick. These are all Friends quotes, so from the Friends show. We have my top tier, which is He's Her Lobster, because lobsters mate with the claws and they walk around together for life. Basically, they're God tier, my favorite books of all time for the month. Then we have What's Not to Like. Custard, good. Jam, good. Meat, good. It's like, what's not to like about this book? It was a good book. I had a good time with it. Like, I can't really see anything that I didn't really love about this. It's just not top tier. Like, you know? Then we have Smelly Cat, what are they feeding you? It's like that the cat that you want to love, but like they're sick, there's something a little wrong with them. So it's like books that like you wanted to love, but like something just didn't quite make the mark. And you can't really put your finger on what it is. Then we have I Wish I Could, but I don't want to. And this is like, I wish I could like these books, but honestly, I just don't want to. And I think that's okay. That's acceptable. And then we have Oh My God from Janice from Friends, which is like, oh my gosh, no. Like, no, goodbye. Like, if I saw you in a room, I'd walk away and run away because I don't want anything to do with you. And so those are those books. So, let's get started, shall we? And we're going to start with Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. And this is going to go into Smelly Cat because as much as I wanted to love this book, I gave it a 3-star, and it was just middle of the road, fine. But the mystery in the book didn't even get resolved at the end of it. And there ended up being 2 mysteries, and one that I didn't care for. And it was very slow, it dragged a lot, I didn't really care for the main character, and I'm also just upset because I own the rest of the books in the series. Am I going to continue on? I might read 1 more and see if it gets better, and if not, just like count my losses and get rid of it. But it just didn't hit for me the way I was hoping it would, but it is also YA. Like, I do have to consider that in this decision. Then we have Stuffed by the Were Turkey. And that was a 1-star for the month. And, that is, oh my God. Because that is a bad book. It's a 13-page erotica about a woman that ends up banging a shifter man who, like, is a turkey from the head up. And waist down, he is not a turkey. Do with that what you will. That's all I'm going to say on that book. All right, moving on. Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry. I am going to put What's Not to Like for this one because this book is a very polarizing book. It was a 5-star for me, but it is a book about a boy who basically when he's 15 or 16 ends up doing some pedophilia acts towards younger girls because he's their swim instructor, and he ends up going to rehab or jail or whatever, and he comes out a year and a half later, and it's him getting adapted back to like living with his family and living with his mom, and it tells the stories from the mom's perspective primarily. There's a couple of chapters from him, but like it's basically how the mom is dealing with like her pedophilia son, and with the dad absolutely hating him and wanting nothing to do with him. And this book was very sad, very tragic. I was not expecting the ending, and there was even a plot twist because this is technically in the thriller category because she writes thrillers, and I was like, okay, well, what's going to be thrillerish about this? That ending though, that ending, she dropped a bombshell on us, Miss Berry. She really did. She did the Lord's work here. So, I highly recommend this book. It was a good time. Then we have Cabin at the End of the World, and this is going first. This is the worst book I've ever read in my entire life. If a book could be as bad as this book, then I would be shooketh. I'd be shooketh. The whole point of this book is that the end of the world is going to happen if these like 3 men show up to like this family who like is like vacationing at this abandoned cabin in like the middle of the woods, and they show up and basically say like, we've come to stop the apocalypse from coming. And I'm not going to tell you like what they say you have to do to stop the apocalypse, but when I tell you that this book made no sense and that the whole purpose of this book was completely batshit crazy, like with what happened in the end, no, I hated this book, I hated this book, I hated this book, and I hated this book, and it will be my worst book of the year. I'm not even a little bit unsure about that statement. All right, then we got to Sheets. And this was a cute little graphic novel series that I started reading. And I read the first and second book, so I'm going to lump them both together right now. And these are He's Her Lobster. These are God tier. These are the cutest little books ever. It is a graphic novel story about this little ghost that all he wants is to have friends. And he ends up going into, and like not wanting to be dead, obviously. And he goes into the real world and ends up meeting this girl who doesn't have any friends because her mom died recently, and she runs the laundromat for her dad because her dad is basically like not helpful anymore because he lost his wife. And then they end up becoming friends, and it's her being friends with a little ghosty. And there are so many sad topics in this thing. Like literally, like topics of like grief, not aliving or unaliving oneself, like all these other things. And it was just so sweet and just so heartwarming, and I just love Wendell the ghost. I just love Wendell. He is main character energy. He is main character energy. All right, moving on to Punk 57 by Penelope Davis. And this one is not quite oh my god territory, but it is. I wish I could like this, but I don't want to. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this or not. I didn't realize it was a bully romance when I got into it, and so like that's my bad. Like that's on me, but the main character, the guy, was so disgusting in the shit that he would say, and the girl just kept falling for him anyway, and I was just like, girl, do you not see how much of a jerk he's being? How much of an absolute piece of crap he is being? Like, why are you falling into this web? And it's just like, I found myself not really caring by the time that they got to the romance, because I was like, why would you be with him? No one would be with this man in real life. No one. So, it did not work for me. I'm very sad about it, but that's all I'm going to say on it. Then we get to Taken on Thanksgiving by Annabelle Winters, and that is another, oh my god, that was a 1-star. This book has the craziest plot development in 88 pages that I've ever seen. Like, literally, this guy was in jail for 10 years. You never find out why in the story he was in jail for 10 years, but he goes to his grandma's house, and I guess the grandma, or his aunt's house, and the aunt had invited their new next door neighbor to come, and it's a girl, and so he just decides to jump her bones, like, literally 2 seconds in, and it's insta-love, and they decide to get married. And then there's, like, a kidnapping, and then there's, like, this diamond coal mine, and there's like all this weird shit going on. This book had so much plot, and it made no sense. It made no sense. So it had to go on there at a whopping 1 star. All right, then we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and this is also going to go in Smelly Cat because I'm not going to lie, this book was way overhyped. I was expecting a lot more from this book, and I didn't get that. It was way overhyped. It repeated the same thing over and over and over again, and like while it was heartwarming and all the stories like interconnected and all came together at the end, like I just found myself not caring, if we're being honest. Like I definitely zoned out during a lot of this. It just was okay. And I don't know why so many people like say that this book has like changed their life forever. Like it is not life changing by any means. Like, no. Then we have Squad, which was another graphic novel, which is like a werewolf graphic novel, a sapphic one. And I honestly really liked this, so I'm going to put this in What's Not to Like. I had a really fun time with this. It is definitely for older kids, though, because it has curse words and it's very sexual and all this other stuff. But, like, I had the best time with this book. Like, it was so fun. I don't want to, like, spoil what it's about. Just know that it's sapphic and has werewolves and, like, it's the perfect, like, spooky season read. But, like, this was definitely a good one. I'm very glad that I picked it up. Then we have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and that is going in He's Her Lobster. I love that book. That is currently on its route to being one of my top, like, contemporary romances of the year, like, maybe even in my top 10. Like, I loved this book. It was just so cute. I love the way that Abby Jimenez writes her characters and, like, the relationship, and I was just really shipping for them throughout the entire thing of this. Like, I don't know. Maybe I just read it at the perfect time, but this book was absolutely adorable. 5 stars. I had the best time with it. I'm so glad that I read it, and I cannot wait to read yours truly, although I did hear something that I'm not excited about reading in that book, that hopefully is not ruined for me because of this. But we'll just have to see for ourselves. Then we have Love, Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood. And I didn't mean to actually put the image on here because I cannot tell you what I thought of this book because this is going to be in my Goodreads romance vlog. And so I'm just going to let you know that I read it. And for the sake of right now, I'm going to put it in Oh My God. But I do not actually think it is Oh My God. I did not hate this book. But I'm not going to tell you if I absolutely loved it, if I just kind of liked it or whatever. So, like, it's just going to go there for now. Then we have None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. And I am going to put this in What's Not to Like. I was hoping I was going to absolutely love this book because Brittany and Kelsey both did. They 5-starred it. They said it's one of their top books of the year. And I think I went in with a little too much hype. I really enjoyed it, but like I don't think Lisa Jewell is like a 5-star author for me. I think she's like a 4-star, 4.5 star. Like I think I gave this 4.5 stars. And I really liked it, but the ending just wasn't what I expected it to be. I was just expecting a lot more from it, honestly, than what it gave me. But I had a really great time with it, and it was very, very interesting, like the whole podcast element. Like, I really do like a podcast in a thriller, and so I definitely still recommend it. It didn't have that 5-star feeling. We have Midnight is the Darkest Hour, and I am not gonna lie, I'm almost as upset at this as Cabin at the End of the World. I love Miss Ashley Winstead. I love it. I've read both her romance books. I've read both her other thriller books, and I've given everything 5 stars. And then we get to this, and I gave this a 1 star because I was so mad at this book. Like, it is so bad. It is so different than anything she's ever written. I don't understand the purpose of it. It was literally just like a Twilight fanfic gone so wrong, but like with a thriller and a small town setting. And it was just awful, 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 awful. I'm so very upset by this. I am also sad because we are doing an author discussion with Ashley Winstead for Haley Hughes' Patreon book club. And of course, she's only coming to the question and A section. She's not coming to the book roast. But I don't even want to say that I hated it in the book roast because I just feel so bad, but like, it was so bad. It was so bad. Like, Miss Winstead, I don't know what happened, but it was so bad. Then we get to the fine print by Lauren Asher, and honestly, I'm going to put that in God tier. I had the best time with this. He's Her Lobster. It was such a fun time. I had heard that this book wasn't nearly as good as the other books in the series, and I'm actually going to talk about Terms and Conditions as well right now. Those are both also in He's Her Lobster. This is honestly one of my favorite contemporary romance series, and I can't wait to read Final Offer for Cal's final book, because Cal is the one that I'm most interested in out of the 3 brothers in the Dreamland Billionaire series. But basically, it follows 3 brothers that, like, they basically own Disneyland or, like, Disney World, and when their grandfather dies, he leaves them like a task for each one of them that they have to complete in order to receive their inheritance or like their share in the company. And so like in the first one, in the fine print, he has to come up with like this new idea to like basically make the park better, and he only has 6 months to do it. In the second one, in order to become the CEO, he has to actually like marry someone and have a kid. And then in the third one, I can't remember what Cal's thing was. I think it was that he has to reconnect with an old flame of his, like I guess like date her. I don't really know, but that's what the third one is going to be. These are so cute. The banter is so great. I had the best time with them. They are just chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Then we have The Never King by Nikki St. Crow, and I am going to put that one in What's Not to Like because honestly I really liked this. It's a smutty, dark, like romance Peter Pan retelling. Like, I don't know what else you need to have in this book, honestly, but it did the deed for me. Like, it was fun, it was quick, it was smutty, it was a good time. And then we have Bewitched by Laura Thalassa, and I think I'm also going to put this in What's Not to Like, because I think I gave this a 4 star or a 4.5 star. It didn't exactly give me 5 star feelings. Like, it was a cute fantasy romance. Like, am I going to think on it again? Probably no. Am I excited to read the second one? Yes. But it was really, really cool. I mean, it was a good little romance. It got better, like, the further on we got. It had werewolves. It had, like, this old demon king. Like, it was just very interesting. And I had a good time with it. It was about this girl that she ends up wanting to be a witch, or she is a witch, but, like, she always loses her memories whenever she, like, uses magic. But then she ends up waking up this old demon that thinks it's his long-lost wife. And then, like, it's just her dealing with this demon. It's, like, their romance, but, like, all this other stuff going on at, like, a coven academy school. Yeah, and it was super cute, fun. I definitely would recommend. And so that is all of my reads for the month. If you want to screenshot it so that you can read really good books, I would recommend the He's Her Lobster and What's Not to Like category. When we get to Smelly Cat, those are not terrible. So like those are like decide you want to read those if you want to. But I would not read Punk 57 and I wouldn't read all the ones down there. Well, except for Love Theoretically. So yeah, that was my November tier ranking. Friends, that was my tier ranking video for November. I hope you had fun with it and you got to see some books that I absolutely loved and some books that I really didn't. I would love to know in the comments down below what is the best book and worst book that you read in November. If you got to the end of the video, then please leave a, let's do, I don't know, a ghost emoji for Wendell the Ghost from Sheets, because that is the first book that I saw. So if you got to the end, put a little ghosty, tell me your favorite and worst book of the month for November. And with that, guys, I will see you in 2 days for Bookmas Day 3. All right, guys, see you later. Bye.